What's up, guys? Derrick here from DaseDesigns.com, back with part 3 for our How to Draw series. In today's video, I'm going to be touching on the basics of perspective, 1, 2, 3 point perspective, just to help you guys get a better understanding, and also show you guys towards the end how I include this into my logos and mascots and stuff like that. Just really how you can have fun with it. All right, so to begin, we're going to start off with 1 point perspective. So as you can see right now, I have a line drawn across our board right here. And this is to act as our horizon line. So if you've ever looked out at the sea or the ocean or anything like that, you'll notice there's a line going straight across, and that's going to act as our horizon line. For 1 point perspective, it's really simple, and you just start off with adding 1 point to wherever you'd like on our horizon line. I'm going to put it right in the middle. So 1 point perspective is really where you have 1 point, and then everything, all the lines, elements converge into that vanishing point. And, again, this is really just to add a sense of depth, perspective, and also just size and just, realism and dimension and stuff like that. So if we were to, just kind of draw like a big square, kind of just like floating in the sky, so to speak. So we have just like a basic flat square right here. So now if we wanted to make this 3-dimensional, add some more dimension, we have our 1 point perspective that we could use. So we would use each of these lines, each of these edges, and we would draw our lines, and these are to act as a guide to draw these lines to our vanishing point. And just keep these really light, and we're just drawing these guys in, and they're about correct. So, and now we have our guidelines. We can add in the rest of our lines to make our shape the actual sizing that we want it to be. So just by doing this alone, this already adds dimension to our objects, to our scene, whatever we're drawing. You kind of get a sense of understanding that it's not a flat square, but it has more dimension to it. If our light was up here, this could be like shaded in on the bottom, shaded in on this side as well, and then this side right here would be white. And then obviously, you could add in your shadows, kind of like how we did before, if you guys remember that. And then draw that line right there. And then you can imagine it may be something like this. And this would be our shadow or something like that. So, and also you can continue this on the bottom, really just doing it wherever you would like to do. And, so I'm just trying to give you guys a basic understanding of 1 point perspective. Again, whenever you're using your lines that are converging to the vanishing point, try to draw those light and obviously erase them when you don't need them. And, and again, they're just to act as a guide to whatever you're trying to illustrate and create. Bam. So, this is just like an easy way to add a little bit of depth, a little bit of perspective, and add a bit more dimension. So right now I'm just doing this with like a simple cylinder. And then again, we would just use those lines as a guide to complete our cylinder right here. Now we're going to begin to use our 2 point perspective. So I pretty much got rid of our vanishing point that was in the center, and I'm going to put one on each edge. So one on the left and one on the side, or one on the left and one on the right for our 2 point perspective. And this can be really great. So if you're trying to make things look even more realistic and add even more dimension to it, this will be perfect. So for example, as you can see, or as if you remember, our last one was just like a flat shaped square, and it was kind of like, just looking at the viewer, so to speak. So now if we wanted it to seem as if it's more so tilted sideways, this would be perfect for that. So generally with 2 point perspective, it's always great to start off with one edge, whichever edge you want to use, and then move forward from there. So we're going to have this shape that's floating in the sky. We're going to have this one and right here with these 2 points. And then again, we're going to connect this point to this one. And then from the right side, we're going to have go from right to left to from right to the left vanishing point, and so on and so forth. We're going to finish off this cube right here. So now you can see that it's really starting to take shape and look a lot more realistic. For the bottom lines again, so every line that starts over here and that goes this way is going to be going to our vanishing point on the left side, and then every line that starts over on this side, or just on this side in general, is going to go from here to here, so to this vanishing point right here. So that's what we just did, and we're also going to do the same for the bottom right here. Hopefully these match up well enough. And then this would be our bottom half. We're gonna have this one right here on our left side go all the way to the one on the right. So now we have like our bottom that we have just created. We can go ahead and shade that off if we wanted to. This is another great way to just add even more, more style, more dimension, more realism, and just size and stuff like that. So you could always create your own scene. It's just really something great to keep in mind if you wanted to, if you just wanted to illustrate something in real life, or just create something in your own mind and just make it look different. Right now I'm just using a creative license, so to speak, and I'm drawing a oven that's just floating in the sky looking all dope. So now we kind of have like an oven right here just floating in the sky, just looking all cool. So yeah, we have an oven, and then we're gonna have another part of this is gonna be a building right here. So maybe it could even look like an air conditioner if we were to like add some more lines on here. And this is kind of a window right here. And again, from right to left vanishing point. And then if I was to add even more dimension to this side right here, add some shading. So then from left to the right vanishing point. And again, it's fine if they don't perfectly match up. It's completely fine. Usually if it's not way off, you're not gonna get called out or something. But anyway, so it's all good. And then we could solidify this line right here and bring this one up even more, and bam. And you can just really create whatever you want and just have fun. So whether you guys notice or not, this is something I actually like to use in my logo designs just to make them a bit more dynamic. And again, I'll be getting to that in a minute after we touch on 3-point perspective. All right, so now we're gonna go over 3-point perspective, and it's a lot like combining 1-point perspective and 2-point perspective together. So we're gonna start off with 1 point on the left side, 1 on the right side, and this time we're gonna put 1 in the top somewhere towards the middle. So this is gonna portray the feeling that you're kind of looking up at something, and at the same time you're looking, you can still have a sense of, you can still see left and right, but you're looking upwards at something. So if you were like standing at the bottom of like a mountain or a volcano or a huge building or something of that nature, probably be better if I put this horizon line way lower. We're just gonna ignore the one in the middle. All right, so so if I was to put like a straight line just going right down the middle, I'm just going to create just kind of like an overall box. Another thing to keep in mind, whenever you're using these, and you're really creating something, it's always good to further extend them beyond your canvas or your painting or what you can actually see, just to make it look more realistic, and so things aren't squished up so much. But I'm just going to continue like this. So anyways, so it's a lot similar. So our lines from the right are going to go to the left, and our lines from the left are going to go to our right vanishing point. So we have a building in the center, and we're pretty much looking up at it from the ground. If we were to continue with this one and we were to make a smaller point on our building, we would continue those guys right up there, and just really continue with our lines right here. So I'm kind of just doing it a lot faster, not really measuring, but just to give you guys an understanding really what you can do, and just like how it looks when you create it. So again, this is kind of like a basic for 3-point perspective, and this can be really fun whenever, again, you're creating something that's in the center and you just want it to look more dynamic, more unique, and not so plain. So usually when I use this in my logo designs, I usually don't add like a horizon line or anything like that, but there in my mind, considering I've done it so often, I already have the points and things just like imagined. But if you've ever noticed from my mascots that they're not, or just like my shapes that I use in my logos, like my shields or a square, they're not perfectly flat like this guy right here. They're usually a bit more dynamic, and they're switched up a little bit. So if I was to add like a 3-point perspective, and we can just say our horizon or our vanishing point is way off our page somewhere. So if we were to recreate this shield right here and just make it more, add more dimension and make it a bit more dynamic, we could have it like this. So as you can see, our lines are going in like this instead of straight up. So if we were to have kind of like our text come out right here. Again, having these lines, our vertical lines, all going to the same vanishing point. So these lines right here would all go to the same place. Now, if I was to erase this, this could be like a text box, for example. So we could put our text here. And then if we wanted to, again, make it look more dynamic, we already have a bit of dimension with the overall shape of the logo design. And, we could have like a mascot or just like an animal or even just a person or even just like a hand kind of just reaching out. So we could just have like a hand reaching out over our text or even just grabbing onto it. And it's just a great way to add, make it more dynamic and more unique, just to tell a different story than the usual, just like flat logo designs and stuff like that. So, if our light source is over here, we could add our shadow right here. If you've seen any of my previous designs, you've probably seen something similar to this, obviously not with a hand, but just like this example, like this will be our shadow. We could add some more shading in here for the side of the hand. It's just something really fun to implement and use to make them different from everyone else's and more intriguing to look at. Then you can also do the same with 2-point and 1-point perspective. 2-point perspective is something, you could always use as well for your logos. Like this would be great if, you're trying to distort something a little bit. You want to just make it look a little bit more distorted. Things like this could always be great for, I want to say, text-based logo design, especially if you want to make them really unique. So like one way to do it, I'm just going to do another shield example. We could create the basics of like a square. So we could just do our corner and then put it to our vanishing point on the right side right here. And then we could just add another line. And then one thing you can do whenever you're doing something like this, if you take it from corner to corner, and then wherever these lines meet will be the center of that shape when it is distorted or in perspective, whatever you want to say. So that could be our center of the shape. And then now we could just further fill it in to make it like a shield or whatever shape you wanted it to be, a badge, however you'd like to call it. So we could put our rounded line right here and it goes to that point. If we were to follow this right here, it'd be straight across. So this could be our corner and then we would round this out. And then this right here would be a 2-point perspective shield that's a bit distorted. So yeah, this is something you can also play with within your designs, your logos, whatever you guys are really working on. Again, just to have more fun, just to make it a little bit more creative and different. And if you wanted to make it even more three-dimensional and more I want to say lifelike, you could also do the same thing for this side and just follow this along. You could add shading or whatever you guys wanted to do. One thing to keep in mind again is to be sure to practice these, because like watching one tutorial or just one video is not really going to do it. It's something you have to continue to do fairly often from time to time and just try to implement it more and more and more until you really get the hang of it and it kind of becomes instinctual. So that's just another thing to keep in mind, guys. So again, it's Derrick from DaseDesigns.com. I hope this series and this video as well has been helpful for you guys so far. If you guys have any questions or comments, be sure to leave them in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.